Hi, everybody. It's Mr. Stevens back. We are going through Brothers in Arms, the life and experiences of the men who fought the Civil War in their own words. We are going to jump right back in to the fray here, pick up where we left off yesterday. I hope you guys are still enjoying this. All right, and here we go. Many of the men had not been much from home, and to say that they were homesick is to state the fact very mildly. Others, throwing off the restraints of home, acted more like wild colts than anything else. A very large majority were, however, steady, earnest men, as reliable in camp as out of it. L.W. Day, 101st Ohio Infantry, USA. Never did American men find their ingenuity as challenged as when presented with spending the greater part of 4 years in idleness. Those who could wrote incessantly, diaries for themselves and letters to send home to family, friends, even the local newspapers. Those who could read did, and some regiments even established small libraries, and anything in print could pass the time. When not reading, they sang and played all instruments available, usually guitar, fiddle, or banjo. All quiet along the Potomac, they sang or the vacant chair, melodies reflecting their melancholy at absence from home. But stirring marches also issued from tents, as well as hymns. They formed debating societies and glee clubs, put on plays, teased and played practical jokes, had snowball fights in winter, and staged athletic contests in summer. Most of all, they just talked. For entertainment, the soldiers looked to every pastime imaginable. Though in a musical era when everyone sang, they most often took pleasure in the sound of regimental bands and informal ensembles. Songs of home were always welcome. Idle hours were filled with every manner of occupation: watercolors, chess, cards, reading and writing, carving animal horns, playing the guitar or flute, molding bullets, and more. While almost irrepressibly fond of whiskey and incorrigible when not on active service, about straggling through the country and running out of camp, they are always behavin' badly. General Basil W. Duke, CSA. What General Duke said about Kentucky Confederates applied to all soldiers. They were always up to something, and much of it defied regulations. Some pastimes were relatively benign. Pornographic photographs and racy novels were popular, if banned in the camps. Profanity, of course, was epidemic, but this was mild compared to the gambling. Soldiers bet on everything, from dice to cards to hog races. All too often, the losers turned to theft, and if a loser at cards did not steal to recoup his losses, he often as not challenged the winner to a fight. Brawling relieved tension, of which there was always too much. On one memorable occasion, the 7th Missouri had 900 fights in a single day. Most misbehavior could be traced in the end to drinking, which was epidemic when liquor was available. Prostitution brought venereal disease into camp as well, and a combination of all of these things, or being denied them, led to insubordination towards those in authority that even the best officers could never completely eradicate. Despite the best efforts of officers opposed to gambling, cards and dice were to be found in almost every tent in the armies, north and south. So fond of cards were the soldiers that they often posed for photographs, cards in hand. A soldier's haversack could yield all sorts of entertainments, but usually a deck of cards, a diary, perhaps a book or two, and everyday articles like a homemade razor or combination cutlery. If there is any place on God's fair earth where wickedness stalketh abroad in daylight, it is in the army, complained an Illinois soldier. No one needed to tell that to the chaplains who tried to bring spiritual comfort and support to the men in the ranks. Catholic, Protestant, or Jew, they all tried to hang on to the faithful and bring more to the faith, saving them from the sinfulness that beckoned in idle hours. In fact, most soldiers went to war with some religious background, and despite the horrors they saw on the battlefield, few actually lost their faith, though most relaxed their behavior. The Bible was the most commonly seen book in camp, and Sunday services were usually well attended, especially when battle was imminent. In 1864, in the Confederacy, a major revival swept the armies as in the darkest days of the conflict, men sought success in renewed faith. Theirs was a simple faith, North and South, that looked to an all-powerful Almighty to grant them victory. The large proportion of the soldiers were wicked and many were reckless. For more than a year, very few manifested any desire to become Christians save the sick or wounded. J. Williams Jones, Chaplain, CSA. Along with their cards and their sometimes sinful ways, Rebs and Yanks took their religion to war with them. Here the priest of an Irish regiment conducts a mass, but every denomination known was represented in the armies. The American Bible Society distributed tens of thousands of Bibles like this in the Union armies, along with pamphlets of the Lord's Prayer. Soldiers often carried small prayer books with them into battle. After supper, the men gathered around the fires for a smoke and to listen to the gossip of the regiment. It frequently happens that someone will invent a story requesting the strictest secrecy in order to have that travel the faster. Charles E. Davis, 13th Massachusetts Infantry, USA. When all was said and done, after gambling and drinking and pranking and praying, the most popular single pastime for soldiers of both armies was simply talking. Politics, philosophy, reminiscences, the progress of the war, any topic could draw a conversation to pass an afternoon or evening. Mostly they speculated on the campaigns to come, the prospects for peace, when they would come home again, what it would be like. "I never heard so many lies in my life as are told in camp," complained one boy, and even the most imaginative rumors enjoyed only short lives, while those who told them were soon spotted as liars. But it was the talking that most safely vented their frustrations and fears, and it was here, too, that their irrepressible humor came out best, even if in fantastic tales punctuated by colorful language, some of it invented. "I was squash-molished," one soldier said of a mishap, but everyone knew what he meant. It was part of the growing language of the camps. News in wartime is always a precious commodity. If the enlisted men had to rely on rumor for his information, his senior officers were far better served. The electric telegraph, like those Confederate examples below, helped the commanders and politicians of both sides keep control of a war being fought on a continental scale. As time went on, Army discipline and the experience of war forged regiments into tight-knit units, bound together by a comradeship which gave an edge to camp life and the inevitable regimental gossip. If he survived the war and made it home, some of the veteran's most distinctive memories would be of life in camp and the hours spent in conversation. And we will stop there at chapter 4 for the day. I hope you guys are still enjoying the book. I know that I am. We will jump right back into it ASAP. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.